Most people think wealth is built with giant salaries, lucky investments, or some secret financial hack rich people hide behind country club gates. But in reality, a huge chunk of your financial future comes down to one painfully boring question. What do you do with the extra money left after your bills are paid? And for most people, that moment feels rare enough to deserve its own national holiday. Maybe it's $200. Maybe it's $1,000. Maybe it's the first month in years you're not watching your bank account like a hostage negotiator. Then the debate begins. Do you kill your debt? Or do you invest?
Because those two choices create completely different futures. One path buys freedom slowly and quietly. The other tries to multiply your money while time does the heavy lifting. And the weird part? Almost nobody makes this decision using actual numbers. People use emotion, fear, TikTok advice, a podcast clip from some guy wearing a fitted t-shirt in front of a Lamborghini. But this decision can literally change your net worth by hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Maybe more. So let's break this down in plain English without pretending personal finance needs to sound like a calculus lecture. Here's the first thing most people don't realize. Paying off debt is technically an investment. If your credit card charges 24% interest and you pay it off, congratulations! You just earned a guaranteed 24% return on your money. Risk-free. No stock market crash. No recession. No CEO scandal. No waking up to your portfolio looking like a crime scene. That's why high-interest debt is so dangerous. It quietly grows in the background like mold behind a wall. And the banks love it. Because every month you carry a balance, they're collecting money from your future self. Now compare that to investing. Historically, the stock market averages around 10% annually over long periods. But average is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Some years the market makes everybody feel like a genius. Other years it drops 30%, and suddenly everyone becomes a philosopher talking about long-term conviction.
So, mathematically, if your debt costs more than your investments are likely to earn, paying off debt usually wins. Simple enough. But then mortgages enter the chat and ruin everything. Because mortgages are weird. A 3 or 4% fixed mortgage behaves very differently than a 24% credit card. In fact, low-interest mortgages can actually become easier over time because inflation quietly shrinks the value of your payment. Your mortgage payment stays the same for 30 years, but your income hopefully doesn't. That $1,700 payment that feels painful today may feel surprisingly manageable 15 years from now. Meanwhile, groceries, rent, gas, and coffee continue climbing like they're training for Everest. Inflation is slowly making your old debt cheaper. That's why some investors intentionally keep low-interest debt while investing heavily instead. Let me show you why this debate gets so intense. Imagine two people. Same age, same salary, same mortgage. Both have an extra $1,000 every month. Person A attacks the mortgage aggressively. Extra payments every month. No messing around. They pay the house off years early, save a mountain of interest, and eventually become completely debt-free. Psychologically, that feels incredible. No mortgage payment, no bank hovering over your life, no giant monthly obligation draining your paycheck. That freedom has real value. But person B does something different. They invest that same $1,000 every month into index funds and let compound interest work for decades. And this is where time becomes absolutely unfair. Because compound growth rewards patience in a way that almost feels broken. Money starts making money.
Then that money starts making money. Then the returns themselves begin compounding. Eventually, the growth becomes larger than the contributions. That's the moment investing starts looking like magic. Over long enough timelines, the investor often ends up with dramatically more wealth than the person aggressively paying off low-interest debt. Not because they worked harder, not because they were smarter, because time amplified their investments faster than the debt was costing them. But here's the part finance bros conveniently leave out. Investing only works if you survive the emotional chaos. And most people massively overestimate their ability to stay calm during market crashes. Everybody loves investing during bull markets. It feels easy when the line keeps going up. Then the market drops 35%. Suddenly, people who claimed they were long-term investors are panic selling at 2 a.m. while watching economic collapse videos on YouTube. Debt payoff doesn't have that problem. Paying off debt is predictable, stable, guaranteed. It's financial broccoli. Not exciting, but incredibly effective. That's why personal finance is never purely mathematical. It's behavioral. The best strategy is the one you can actually stick with for 20 years without emotionally self-destructing. And your personality matters more than people think. Some people hate debt so much it ruins their sleep. For them, becoming debt-free creates peace no spreadsheet can measure. Other people are perfectly comfortable carrying low-interest debt while investing heavily because they trust the long-term math. Neither person is automatically wrong. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake people make in this entire conversation. They skip the emergency fund. This is the financial equivalent of building a house directly on sand. If you don't have cash reserves, one bad month can destroy your entire strategy. Car repair, medical bill, job loss, family emergency. Without emergency savings, you end up right back in debt or selling investments at the worst possible moment. That's why boring cash savings matter. Not because they grow fast, because they keep your financial life from exploding when reality punches you in the face. And reality always throws punches eventually. Now here's the framework that actually makes sense for most people. High interest debt? Destroy it immediately. Credit cards charging 20% interest are financial emergencies wearing friendly branding. Moderate interest debt? Depends on your goals, stability, and risk tolerance. Low interest debt? Often worth keeping while investing consistently over time. And throughout all of this, consistency matters more than perfection. Because most people don't fail financially from one catastrophic mistake. They fail from years of hesitation, overthinking, starting and stopping, waiting for the perfect plan. Meanwhile, time keeps moving. And time is either your greatest financial ally or your biggest enemy. So if you take anything from this video, let it be this. You do not need the perfect strategy. You need a strategy you can consistently follow while life gets messy around you. That's how wealth is actually built. Quietly, slowly, boringly, long before anyone else notices.